Nazi Germany had a notoriously iron grip controlling and repressing the German populace. A major tool for the Nazis in brainwashing young citizens was their youth program, the Hitler Youth, an organization that brainwashed young Germans to be loyal to the Nazi Party. By the end of World War II, these youth would be used as cannon fodder by the Nazis who marched out youth as young as 12 to the battlefield. So how did one group of former Hitler Youth powerfully encourage dissent in Nazi Germany amid censorship and societal domination? In this installment of Movement, we'll look at the White Rose Resistance and their fight against tyranny. The Hitler Youth began as the Youth League of the Nazi Party in March 1922. The group grew exponentially following Hitler coming to power, with half of all German children joining the Hitler Youth by 1935. In the early days of the organization, activities of the Hitler Youth resembled American Boy Scout clubs. Hitler Youth spent time outdoors learning basic survival skills and engaging in exercise. Nazi officials administering Hitler Youth programs promoted youth members to engage in sports that required physicality. One such game, called Battle Ball, had participants use any means necessary to get a medicine ball across the field into the opposing team's goal. Punching, shoving, and any action that would help the ball carrier move the ball were encouraged. In 1936, a law was passed that outlawed all other youth organizations, and soon after it became compulsory for all youth to be involved in the Hitler Youth. It was also compulsory for all German girls aged 10 to 18 to join the League of German Girls, which engaged members in homemaking activities. All Hitler Youth participants were indoctrinated with pro-Nazi ideology used as a way to build a generation of blindly loyal Nazis. Choosing not to participate in Hitler Youth orgs could result in the denial of a high school diploma, and participation was required to enter German universities. As Hitler Youth membership reached millions, the Nazi Party began to militarize the group. With World War II raging on, the Boy Scouts-like activities of the Hitler Youth began to more resemble military training. Youth members were engaged in arms and combat training, preparing youth to join the ranks of the Nazi military. By the end of the war, Hitler Youth as young as 12 began to see live warfare. Some 20,000 Hitler Youth participated in resisting the D-Day advance by Allied forces, a battle that saw 3,000 Hitler Youth killed. Like all young Germans of his generation, Hans Scholl was a member of the Hitler Youth. Hans was seen as a promising member of the organization, even chosen to carry the flag for his unit at a national rally. Though Hans was seen as a promising member of the Hitler Youth, at home he was exposed to foreign radio and encouraged by his parents to resist against the lies told to him by the Nazi Party. In 1939, Hans would enroll at Ludwig Maximilian University of Munich School of Medicine during his conscription in the German military. While studying at the university, Hans would make acquaintance with Professor Kurt Huber, who would encourage Hans to see beyond the veil of Nazi propaganda. Working with a group of 3 other students and Professor Huber, the group began to write pamphlets denouncing Nazi rule and encouraging German citizens to sabotage the Nazi effort. The group would sign the letters, White Rose. Hans's sister, Sophie, would move in with him as she attended the University of Munich. While living with Hans, Sophie would find drafts of the pamphlets he and his co-conspirators were distributing. Having been engaged in anti-Nazi sentiment herself growing up in the Scholl household, Sophie asked Hans to join the effort. Sophie joined in with the other founding members of the White Rose, who in total authored 6 pamphlets antagonizing the Nazi Party. In total, the group would distribute 15,000 copies of their writings in secret. While distributing the 6th edition of the White Rose's letters, Sophie threw the pamphlets from a tall balcony at the University of Munich in hopes of them reaching the students below. A janitor of the university witnessed Sophie throwing the papers and reported her and Hans to the Nazi Gestapo. After a brief trial, Hans and Sophie were convicted of treason and executed by guillotine on February 22, 1943. Before the guillotine dropped, Hans proclaimed, "Long live freedom," in one last statement of defiance. Although Hans and Sophie Scholl's lives were extinguished by the Nazi regime, their spirit of dissent had already permeated the German perception of the invulnerable Nazi Party. Other anti-Nazi youth groups were recorded to antagonize Hitler Youth, most notably the Edelweiss Pirates. The Edelweiss Pirates were a group of young Germans that rebelled against conformity and militarism. Though much smaller in size than the Hitler Youth, with some 2,000 to 3,000 members across Germany, the Edelweiss Pirates confronted Nazi Party directly, just as the White Rose had. Edelweiss Pirates were noted to confront Hitler Youth, fighting members and sabotaging infrastructure used by the group. As with the White Rose, the Nazi Party's response to the Edelweiss Pirates was swift and brutal. In November 1944, 13 members of the Edelweiss Pirates were executed to make an example of those dissenting the Nazi Party. The white rose was a brash symbol of defiance in a time of complete repression and brutal dictatorship. The group's effort was a rare, emboldening symbol for people living in Nazi Germany that distrusted the lies they were fed by their government. Resistance and the power of the human spirit is necessary to any movement. To learn more about movements and defiance in the face of tyrannical rule, subscribe to our channel at the Aspirations Network.